Welcome. We're live. We're here at Byrne Stadium at Bryant University. My name is Tanner Rebello.
And I'm Evan Cook.
And we are Trifecta Sports Talk. Evan was trying to jump the gun a little bit. But we're here at Byrne Stadium, Evan. And tell them about today's sponsor.
Today's episode is sponsored by the Bryant University Athletics Department. And here at Byrne Stadium, the Bryant Bulldog football team opens its 2017 campaign next Saturday, September 2nd, right here at Byrne Stadium. Experience the new era and purchase your tickets today by visiting BryantBulldogs.com/tickets or by calling 401-319-TIXX. Again, that is 401-319-TIXX.
And you will find the links for those in the description below after we're done recording. We will have those links so you can buy tickets to Bulldogs football. It is a gorgeous stadium here at Byrne Stadium. You have the nice athletic complex right behind it. Looks like a gorgeous day. The field is in perfect condition. We're going to talk a lot of Boston sports today, primarily Kyrie Irving. You know, we haven't had a show since that Kyrie Irving trade, which was 2 days ago at this point. We were both actually at the Pawtucket Red Sox, covering the Pawtucket Red Sox. So I had planned actually to do a story on Blake Swihart and how I think something's up with his swing, something's up with his mechanics, but I didn't get to that because we had this Kyrie Irving news. So you originally heard that the Celtics were in on Kyrie once it was announced that he wanted out of Cleveland. You know, Boston always does this, though. Danny Ainge is notorious for doing his due diligence when it comes to players who are available. You know, he's always seeking, you know, what's this guy going to cost? So when I heard that news when the Celtics were talking about Kyrie Irving, in my mind, I didn't think anything was going to come of it.
No, it's not. It's throughout this entire thing that's been going on around like this offseason, whether it's Paul George, Kristaps Porzingis, now Kyrie Irving, the one name everyone really put out of their mind was Kyrie Irving. Nobody thought Danny Ainge would actually trade for him.
Right, because when you think about it, Kyrie Irving is a younger player than Paul George or Jimmy Butler. Obviously not younger than Kristaps Porzingis, but you know, you looked at Kyrie Irving and he was a point guard, right? He's a point guard. You had Isaiah Thomas, who was third in MVP voting. All-Star the last 2 years, helped get to the playoffs the last 3 years. He's 29 years old, and you didn't think they were going to get Kyrie Irving because of Isaiah Thomas. But no, they traded Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, and Ty Zizic, and the 2018 Brooklyn pick to the Cleveland Cavaliers for Kyrie Irving. Irving, in his own right, is a top 3 guard in the NBA. But if you look at what they did, you know, it's tough to really feel great about the trade. You know, I think the Celtics in the long run won the trade. If I was in the situation Ainge was, I would have made the deal, the trade for Kyrie Irving. I would have made it because I think Irving's a better player than Isaiah Thomas. Their statistics are similar, but if you look at Kyrie Irving, he was playing alongside LeBron James and Kevin Love. Kevin Love and LeBron James are better than anything your Celtics team had last year. Isaiah Thomas was the ball-dominant guard. He took most of your shots. So that's why Kyrie's numbers were similar, is because he had to play with LeBron. He had to play with Kevin Love. Now he's going to come here to Boston. It's going to be a really good fit in that offense. But Isaiah Thomas was a definition of a Celtic.
No, he absolutely was. And when this trade came down, everyone looked at it as Isaiah is, you know, the definition of a Celtic. He brought this team from a team that was just plain bad a couple of years ago to a team that now can contend for the Eastern Conference title. And he made the rebuild from what would you say normal rebuild would be? Say like 5 years.
You know,
he brought it down to a year and a half.
If you do remember, before they traded for Isaiah Thomas, the weeks leading up into it, they were looking like a real team. He might have pushed them over the edge, but the Celtics, you got to remember, they didn't expect that. I don't think they actually wanted to get Isaiah at that time, but they had the opportunity to get him for cheap, and they did.
Oh no, and it was pretty clear that it looked like the team actually wanted to tank that year when they actually got Isaiah.
And they won more games than they thought they were going to.
They won more games than they thought they would, and they snuck into the playoffs before they got swept by Cleveland. But that's what Isaiah was able to do for you. He brought your team all the way back to a contender.
Yep, and he helped you land Al Horford, and he helped you get Gordon Hayward.
Yeah, and now your team is a lot better now next year. Now, yes, you can say what you want about Isaiah Thomas being maybe a top player in the NBA, but who would you rather have, Isaiah Thomas and Jay Crowder or Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward?
Yeah, I think most people were saying would rather have the later of that.
Oh, absolutely.
I look at it this way. Jay Crowder, you gave him away for basically it was a throw-in and not deal. He looked like he was. But with Jay, where was he going to fit? Where was Jay Crowder going to play? When they drafted Jason Tatum and when they held on to Jay Crowder, I looked at Crowder. I wasn't sure what his playing time or role was going to be with the Celtics team. Because if you look at the Boston Celtics, Gordon Hayward's going to be their starting small forward. And I know it's positionless basketball, but you still have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown that need playing time. So they could have made it work, but I just didn't envision a big role for Jay Crowder on this team. So moving on from him is fine. I do question the hip of Isaiah Thomas. But then again, saying that with Kyrie Irving, you're not getting a healthy guy in terms of his career. He actually missed most of his freshman year at Duke, and he's had injury history in the NBA. He's missed playoff time with that injury history. So it's not like you're getting a 25-year-old who's never had an injury. You're getting a 25-year-old who has injury history and tons of miles on him. So I've heard one of the defenses, well, Isaiah's hip, that's why you trade him, right? You don't know how the hip's going to be. Well, Kyrie, you're not getting a healthy guy to begin with. So I don't think it was a health reason. I think, what do you envision the next 6 years being? Isaiah Thomas is 29 years old. 6 years from now, is Isaiah Thomas going to be at his prime? No, he's on the back end, probably almost out of the league. 6 years from now with Kyrie, 31 years old, still in the prime of his career, still can contribute to a championship team. And that's what makes me make that decision. His age.
Oh, absolutely. Right now, the way I see Isaiah Thomas is over the next, like you said, he's maybe on the back end of his prime. I'd say he's probably in the middle of it right now. Next year, right now he has the hip problem, and Danny Ainge said himself the other night during the press conference after they made the trade that they don't think Isaiah will be ready for opening night. Saying that, you don't know how long Isaiah is going to be out. He could be out 3-4 months, and at that point,
I still think Isaiah needs a surgery.
I think he does too. This has been one of the few stories that's really been swept under the rug this past.
I wonder how
summer.
transparent the Celtics were with Isaiah. I wonder what kind of conversation went down. Did they notify him, hey, you might be traded? Was there that kind of back and forth dialogue? If you look at Isaiah Thomas, what he's given to the city, what he's given to the team, the way his sister passed away, and the franchise rallied around him, right? I wonder how that conversation happened and if he was blindsided by it. Because it's a shitty way to do it. The way it went down. You traded a guy who was your MVP. And I make the trade. I'm not saying I would. Losing Isaiah Thomas does hurt, but I do think Kyrie's going to fit and mesh better with that Brad Stevens system. I think he's going to mesh better with Al Horford, with Gordon Hayward, because he's a better playmaker. He's a better point guard. He's a great scorer, one of the best scorers in the NBA. He's also a better shooter than Isaiah from three. He's a bigger body. They both are awful defensively. But if you look at it, I don't want to make it about height. I really don't. But Isaiah's listed at 5'9", a generous 5'9". He's like 5'7", really.
It's like Justin Pedroia.
If you look at him, he tries really hard on defense, but he's just not big enough. Kyrie Irving doesn't try at all on defense. But there's that opportunity for him to try to be better defensively, where Isaiah, he's not going to get better defensively because he just can't. So that's I like the trade for Kyrie Irving. I'm shocked by it. I still don't believe they made that trade because you gave up the Brooklyn pick. You gave up that opportunity you can potentially trade for a big man or draft a big man. And I know we talk about these prospects all the time. Yabusele, right? Nader, we see it all the time, every sport. You hype up these prospects and don't turn out to be anything. The Brooklyn pick, it could be a top 10 pick. I think it will be a top 10 pick. Will it be top 5? I still think you win the trade. If it's number 1, you lose that trade. I think you lose the trade if it's number 1 because that number 1 asset is valuable.
I agree. Saying that, I don't see the Brooklyn Nets getting that number 1 pick this year.
They don't.
They're a lot better this year.
But you don't know what happened. You don't know what will happen.
Of course you don't. Of course you don't. You never know. They could end up having like the 6 best odds and somehow the combined balls work it, so they end up getting number 1. Now the Cavs have the number 1 pick.
Or they could have some good players at the trade deadline that they move on from and trade to a contender for draft picks in order to rebuild their own franchise.
Could happen too. But based on the roster they have right now is in also considering that the Eastern Conference is the last dominant conference in the NBA, they're going to be playing against lesser opponents compared to like the Lakers, who are going to be playing against more difficult opponents. So I just think that the way it's going to end up at the end of the year, the Lakers are going to end up farther up in the draft. So I think you end up getting between 2 and 5 if you're the Celtics, anyways. But I don't think the number one overall pick.
I don't think so either. Now let's talk about
obviously like something crazy happening.
Well, let's talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers because they are still, in my opinion, the odds-on favorite in the Eastern Conference. They have LeBron James. Usually the team with the best player wins. Yes. And LeBron's better than anything the Boston Celtics fans have here. Yes. Better than Kyrie Irving. He's better than Al Horford. He's better than anything you have. So I still think the Cleveland Cavaliers are the odds-on favorite. Now I wonder if getting this Brooklyn pick. So getting Isaiah makes you competitive this year still. Trading Isaiah Thomas for Kyrie Irving for Cleveland is not that bad of a trade-off. He might be the sixth man of the year there because they do have Derrick Rose as well. So for Cleveland, they're staying relevant in the short term. They're giving LeBron one last chance to win an NBA title. Isaiah Thomas and Jay Crowder is a really good role player too. Coming off the bench there, he's actually going to be very effective for that team. So if you look at this Cleveland Cavaliers team, I really do wonder if LeBron is now going to stay. I think his chances have just went up because you're making him competitive in the short term. Say Isaiah stays long term, I don't know if he will, but there's a possibility. But they have the Brooklyn pick now. They have one of the most valuable assets in the NBA with this Brooklyn pick. And say it's a top 3 pick. So now LeBron sees, well, they're building a future now around me. Now there's a future. You're going to get a top 3 pick, and you're not just going to be these Richard Jefferson types, these old veterans, right? Because LeBron wants to be competitive for the remainder of his career. He wants the chance to win a title. So with Cleveland, they just got him that asset. They just got LeBron, potentially a top 5 pick, a top 5 player in the NBA draft, in a loaded draft, which is, they say that every year. This year is supposed to be really loaded. So I look at this and I think, well, LeBron might stay now. LeBron might have an incentive to stay because now they're building around him for the future, not for the short term. We'll see what happens, but I think Cleveland got a steal here as well. I think this is a win-win for both sides, but I think Cleveland got the better deal because if you look at what the Indiana Pacers got for Paul George, if you look at what the Chicago Bulls got for Jimmy Butler, they got nothing compared to what Cleveland just got. And if you're the Indiana Pacers, if you're a Pacers fan, you should burn down that organization because they got robbed. They got Victor Oladipo. He's a good player, but it's really fascinating to see how little the Pacers got. This Cleveland Cavalier return, they got the most, I believe, for Kyrie Irving. There was no better deal out there.
Oh, there absolutely wasn't. Now, the thing is,
you don't have to win the trade if you're the Celtics. You don't have to win every trade.
You don't. And now if you're the Celtics, the way you're looking at it is you were thinking, all right, maybe LeBron James leaves after next year, which has been going around for a lot right now. He's had those problems with Kyrie Irving, no longer a problem. He's had problems with ownership. Is that still a problem, or can that get rectified?
So I do question Dan Gilbert's commitment to winning, spending money, really, because Gilbert, I think he saved $19 million by making this trade.
That's a lot of cash.
Yep, 44% was their tax, their luxury tax for busting through that threshold. You have to wonder if Dan Gilbert is cheaping out again. If you have LeBron on your team, if you're an owner with LeBron, if you're a billionaire owner, you should be going for it every year. You should be willing to take losses because you're going for a championship.
Yeah, but the thing is, but again, here's the thing. LeBron's a diva.
If he wanted out,
he's a diva.
Yes.
He didn't want to play with Kyrie Irving. They weren't talking to each other in the NBA playoffs. There was no way. If you're the Cleveland Cavaliers, you couldn't have them.
Okay, but this is a two-way street, right? What was Kyrie Irving's deal with that breakup? What was his part in that? Because it's a two-way street. Well, LeBron doesn't want to play with Kyrie. Kyrie didn't want to play with LeBron. Why didn't Kyrie Irving want to stay with the Cleveland Cavaliers this season and have a better shot to win an NBA title? Why wouldn't he want to deal with it? To suck it up and have a better shot. And I get it. He doesn't want to play with LeBron. But winning a title and have an opportunity to win a title. A better chance than you will with Boston. So I do look at Kyrie Irving. Celtics fans are all painting it up in green, right? Something's not right there. If it was me, I'd go for the title. Because you're not going to get paid any more in Boston than you are in Cleveland this year. There's no money incentive. It might not be a great situation, but you're winning. And that's what matters in sports. So I do question Kyrie Irving's motives a lot for that. outside the court, I know he's had some partying issues, but he was a young kid in his 20s, and I think he's moved on from that.
Yeah, it was like,
But why wouldn't you want to play with LeBron? Why wouldn't you want a chance to win? And I get LeBron might not be a great guy, but you were best friends with LeBron. He was his older brother, and that's a direct from Kyrie Irving. Something happened between them, and I don't think it's all on LeBron.
All right, I'm just playing devil's advocate.
I know you are.
But maybe he's, not the guy. He wants to be the guy. Maybe.
But
I'm just trying to say.
Obviously you're in LeBron's
if you're a
shadow.
Celtics fan, you want that.
If you're in LeBron's shadow, I understand that. I think with Kyrie Irving, if he came out and said, you know what, I heard LeBron was leaving. I heard the rumors myself. LeBron might have mentioned it, and I wanted out. I didn't want to get left here without LeBron. If he said that, if he comes out and mentions it to someone, then I'll buy it. Then I'll be like, all right, I get that. You don't want to be left with LeBron gone, right? I bet Kevin Love doesn't want that either. I would get that reasoning behind it, but don't tell me it was because of poison of their relationship. I don't think that's the real reason why Kyrie left. That's my opinion with that. But I would have stayed if I was Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, and then you definitely would have had a better shot.
Even if LeBron left, then you are the guy. Because I get it. They won the NBA championship 2 years ago. Kyrie Irving had the game-winning shot, but everyone is drooling over the LeBron block. But Kyrie Irving hit the game-winning shot. He won you an NBA title. He was the guy. Who was taking the fourth quarter shots? Not LeBron. It was Kyrie Irving. But who got the credit? LeBron. So I get that. If that's what Kyrie Irving left for, I understand it. But I think winning a title is just more than that. No, that's an ego thing. And now we're going to see Brad Stevens. Now he has to deal with egos. Gordon Hayward, I don't really know how big of an ego he is, but this was going to be his team, right? They signed him. It was Gordon Hayward's team. That's what people were talking about. Even with Isaiah here, it was still going to be Gordon Hayward. He was going to be the best player on your team.
Yeah, and Isaiah helped recruit Gordon Hayward to come here. That was a known fact.
Right.
So
how much of an influence on him, we don't know. But
and you could also say, well, Brad Stevens was able to bring in Gordon Hayward for everything that happened back at Butler when he was in college. Could say that too. But there's no way in that meeting they said, Danny Ainge said to Gordon Hayward, what if we bring in Kyrie Irving right in front of Isaiah Thomas? It didn't happen.
No, I don't think
the point I'm trying to make is you're right.
I think what they sold him on was, hey, this guy was a top 3 MVP candidate. You can play with the top 5 guard in the NBA. Because Isaiah Thomas is a top 5 point guard in the NBA. So is Kyrie Irving. They're not Russell Westbrook. They're not Steph Curry. John Wall is in there somewhere as well. But it is interesting because they did sell a guy like Hayward on it. I saw Al Horford's Instagram this morning where he was welcoming Kyrie to Boston, basically saying, let's go, let's win. And Al Horford's this gritty veteran at this point. That's what he is. You signed him to a max contract last offseason, but, he's in his 30s, right? He's your big man. And I think he's going to be the rock of his team. He's not a top 20 player in the NBA. But you have 2 top 20 players in the NBA now. You have Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward. Yes. And then you have Al Horford, who's going to be a consistent veteran for you. I think he's going to be a better fit with Kyrie Irving running the point. Not saying Isaiah wasn't, but I think the way Kyrie plays, it'll be better fit for Al Horford's game. So I do look at the Celtics team and what's their starting 5 going to look at. I know Wick Grossbeck last night mentioned Marcus Smart's name when mentioning Hayward, Horford, Irving. And I was like, I don't know. I think Marcus Smart should be off the bench. I think you should insert like a Jaylen Brown into your starting lineup. And go a little bit bigger.
I would imagine you would probably start Jaylen Brown.
Because Smart off the bench, that's where you use money right there.
I mean, you maybe do at the beginning of the year, give Jaylen a little bit more time to see how he plays this year to begin the season. Just for that fact, since Marcus Smart is one of the more veteran players on this team, time-wise. But
yeah.
yeah.
Sure.
So yeah, it would make sense. That's the only way I would see Marcus Smart starting. In the starting
Look,
5.
I don't want to see Aaron Baines as your starting 5 at all. No Aaron Baines, please. No Marcus Morris. Nope. Your starting 5 you should have is Kyrie Irving at your point guard. Shooting guard, I think you should move in Jaylen Brown there. Your small forward, it is going to be Gordon Hayward, right? Gordon Hayward's going to be your starting small forward, and then it's going to be interesting to see what happens, really. There's a lot of flexibility they can have with this roster here. You know, it's going to be interesting to see how Stevens plays it. Now we have Hayward and Irving, two guy personalities. Stevens never had to deal with that in Boston.
No, he hasn't.
So we'll see really what happens here. But you know, you might see Smart in that lineup. I don't want to see Aaron Baines. Would you rather see Aaron Baines or Marcus Morris? But Morris would be playing the power forward, and he's not a big guy. He's more of a small forward as well. They still don't have that big guy presence. You know, I'm Aaron Baines, no thank you. You know, he's a fine guy. He can play some minutes for you. He can rebound the ball, but he's not going to win you a championship. You know, you saw the Cavaliers. What Timothy Mozgov was their plug-in 2 years ago, or was that the year before? Zaza Pachulia was the guy over in Golden State this past year.
Yes.
So you do look at teams have won with less than elite centers, but I don't think Aaron Baines is going to be your guy. I still think you need a big man presence, some guy who can dominate in the paint and get rebounds. And that's what that Brooklyn pick really symbolized to me, was you had an opportunity to either draft one, which they haven't really been willing to do, because Danny's been going after these athletic playmakers, a.k.a. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Marcus Smart, stuff like that. Is it Yabusele? Is he going to develop into it? That's what I hope. I hope it's it. Please, no, Aaron Baines. You know what he is. He's a veteran player who can give you some minutes, but he's not a legit guy. He's not going to help you win a championship. He's going to be a role player on a championship team. So I think they need a legit center.
Oh, they absolutely do. But the thing is that worries me about Yabusele. Yeah, okay, maybe he is like that big man that you're talking about. I know you really can't base anything around it, especially since no Celtics fan has watched him play. Face it, no Celtics fans has watched him play.
I think that everybody's watched the YouTube clip from China.
Yeah, no Celtics fans really watched him play.
Shanghai Sharks? Play for the Sharks, right?
I think that the Shanghai Sharks.
Shanghai Sharks, I believe, is where Yabusele was playing in China.
But
if you have any ideas of what Yabusele is going to do, leave it in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what Celtics fans are actually thinking about Yabusele. Like an honest thought. Don't be like, this guy's going to be an all-star every year and all of that. Give me an honest thought what you think Gershon Yabusele is, and if you watched him actually play online, definitely leave a comment about that. Because I am interested in seeing what people think about him, because I hear he's going to be on the roster. You know, that's been the consistent thing out of Boston, and Yabusele is going to be on the roster day one. So we'll see what happens with that. I don't think he's going to be in the G League. They wouldn't have brought him to put him in the G League. That's going to be a waste of his time.
Oh, it absolutely would. But the thing is with the Celtics and Danny Ainge, when was the last time they drafted an all-star?
Well, Evan, Danny Ainge has never drafted an all-star.
Okay.
Because, I mean, really, when's the last Celtics player who is homegrown that became an all-star player? Just try to think of one.
Pierce?
Yes. Paul Pierce was the last Boston Celtics player to be drafted by the Celtics and become an all-star. It's mind-blowing. So that's why this drafting process for the Celtics, you know, that Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, they could be legit guys. I liked what I saw at a summer league, and I think Tatum's going to be better. I think his ceiling's higher than Jaylen Brown. But Jaylen Brown's put in a ton of work this offseason. You know, he's gotten big. Yeah. And I think he can be a starting player on this team, a contributor on this team. And I really hope he relishes that role and takes advantage of it. But he's not an all-star this year, obviously. And Yabusele may never be an all-star. You don't really know. This is prospects. You know, we were talking about it last night. Henry Owens, a couple years ago for the Boston Red Sox, was this heralded prospect. Well, if you traded him, he would return a mountain, right? And now if you trade him, you're not going to trade him. You're just going to give him. So that same thing in basketball. You hear it all the time. These players that just don't pan out. How many times have I heard Marcus Smart is something special? And then he's a great defensive player. But is he elite? Is he ever going to get there? He's been in the league for, 4 years now? 3-4 years for Marcus Smart? Full years. And obviously missed some time with injury. His rookie year. But Marcus Smart, that's another guy. He's never really exploded. This has to be the year for him. Marcus Smart, he has to break out eventually.
You would hope so.
You don't get 30-plus minutes and score 12 points a game. I'm sorry. You're a guard in the NBA. You have to score, man.
I was pretty much about to say the exact same thing. Like, if you're playing 30 minutes a game, you can't be scoring 12 points a night.
I can score 12 points in 30 minutes, and I'm not good at basketball. A lot of people could. Anybody in the G League could score 12 points in 30-plus minutes a game.
And even at that point, it's like he's supposed to be like that guy that can shoot threes.
No, he can't. No,
when he was coming in, he was supposed to be that guy, and he shoot like 20% from three.
Yeah. So with Marcus Smart, what's wrong with his 3-point shot is it's a moon shot. You see that trajectory; it goes all the way up to the moon and comes back down. It's sketchy. He's put in a ton of work this offseason. He's been working with a lot of talented people on that 3-point shot, and I actually think Marcus Smart is going to break out this year. I think this is his opportunity because he has to. He's playing for a contract. Next year, he will get $+ million a year. If I'm the Celtics, Marcus still can't score, still can't shoot, okay, see you later, buddy. We're not paying you that much money. But in the NBA, he's a $20+ million player next year. Avery Bradley, same boat, and that's why they traded Avery Bradley. They picked Marcus Smart over Avery Bradley. That's what it came down to. And I still don't know if they're going to play Marcus Smart.
I mean, I would imagine they would play Marcus Smart just because he would be one of it looks like he'll probably be one of the better options on your team.
He will be. And defensively, you need him. And that's why, they have an open roster spot right now. This Boston Celtics team has an open roster spot. Who are they going to get? I'm hearing Tony Allen, former Boston Celtic. This guy's a veteran. He can't shoot for shit, but he's a good defender. And he'll kind of fill that role that you lost with Avery Bradley gone. And let's talk Cavalier Celtics again. Who guards LeBron? You signed Tony Allen? Tony Allen guards LeBron. We know he can do it. He's won before. He's been here before. And I think you need some more veteran presence on that team. I look at Kyrie Irving. He has 6 years in the league. Is he a veteran guy? I'm not really sure. How's he going to fit? Bring in a guy like Tony Allen, a guy who can be like a rock in your locker room. And it can help a transition to bring in Kyrie because Tony Allen's been here. He knows Danny Ainge. He knows the coaching staff. He knows the building. That's a guy I'd bring in. It wouldn't cost you much. Veteran minimum, probably. Yeah. He's still a free agent, and he's a great guy. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine it would cost that much, and it would make more sense, a lot of sense to bring him in. The only other guy I could possibly think of would be Gerald Green. And
look, you know what Gerald Green gets you. You had some patches last year where Gerald Green just went off. But I think with this team, you brought in Gordon Hayward, you brought in Kyrie Irving. You don't need an occasional score from Gerald Green. You need a lockdown defender and a guy who can potentially rebound for you.
Which, again,
Tony Allen checks
most sense.
All the boxes off for me.
Yeah.
All the boxes.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to go between the two, obviously you're going to go with Tony Allen. But, yeah, like you said, Tony Allen, better defender, better, great locker room guy, knows the city.
Knows the team, knows the
team.
He hasn't played with anybody on the team. It's been a while for Tony Allen.
But he knows the city. He knows the city. But he knows the city. He knows how to deal with the Boston media.
He does. And for Kyrie Irving, I don't know, he was in Cleveland, right? And I know that team was under a spotlight, national media attention. But when you get in a room with all Boston reporters every game, some peppery questions, you might want to have someone there who probably put you under their arm and tell you what's what. Because if you look at this team, you have 4 players. 4 players on this Boston Celtics team were here last year. Al Horford's only his second year in Boston. Marcus Smart. No, he's been here for a couple of years, but he's still a young kid.
He's the most veteran person on this team,
right.
if I'm not mistaken.
And that's why you need a guy, I think, like Tony Allen, a guy who's been around. Bring him back into the system because you don't have anybody. Al Horford, he's a veteran player, and I think he's going to be a rock, but it is only his second year. So we'll see what happens. I think that'd be smart for Ainge to do. But they could fill it with a young guy. That's another option they have. So we'll see what happens with that. Moving on here. Going to talk about pace of play in Major League Baseball. We have our Red Sox show. Our last Red Sox show from McCoy Stadium. That is tomorrow. We'll be at McCoy. It'll be a fun time. It's going to be our last. We'll talk about where we see players developing. So we'll go through the entire Pawtucket Red Sox lineup. The entire roster. And we'll tell you what we're thinking in terms of development, who you could potentially see next year take that step, who might be done, talk about September call-ups, because that's right around the corner. And that'll be tomorrow with Evan and I again. We'll be right at McCoy, but today we're at Burns Stadium at Bryant University, and we're going to talk about pace of play. So Justin Doyle, who is writes about the Bruins for us, writes about hockey for us at TrifectaNetwork.com. He wrote an article about pace of play in baseball. And I looked at it, and I was thinking, all right, what does this guy know? Right? What does he know about baseball? He doesn't watch baseball. He actually acknowledges that in his article. He doesn't watch baseball. He used to. And he doesn't watch it anymore because the games have the opportunity to go over 4 hours, and they're always north of 3. That time commitment to watch baseball is simply too much for the average sports fan. And by the average sports fan, I mean people who watch football, people who watch hockey, basketball, the other sports. The average sports fan won't turn on a baseball game because of the pace of play, because of the time. And these are the two things that Justin highlighted. Because he was looking at the Little League World Series and their inning, limitations and their pitch counts, right? He's looking at it, and he said, why does Major League Baseball take some of this from Little League World Series? It's an exciting format, and bring it to the big leagues. And one of those things was to eliminate an inning or two, whatever, eliminate a couple innings from the baseball game. And then the other one was put a pitch count on your starting pitchers. All right, 90 pitches, you're out. 80 pitches, you're out, whatever that is. And one of the issues we always talked about with shortening the games was, well, the bullpen, you're going to have less bullpen arms, smaller rosters, less money. The players' union would say, no, no, no. But you put a pitch count on these starting pitchers, you're still going to need your bullpen. You're still going to need starting pitchers. You're still going to need all of that. So you can still keep the rosters the same. And the games are shorter. I think it's a win-win. I actually don't hate that thinking, because I think it's one of the better options. Because think about it, something radical has to take place here with Major League Baseball eventually. There has to be something. Something has to give. Because ratings are going like this. Not a lot of new fans are turning on. You're not getting that young audience. That's what the NBA does really well, is they get that young audience. It's shorter games. We saw the NBA. They don't have a problem with time. Their pace of play is fine. But they got rid of timeouts. They made the game shorter. Major League Baseball, they haven't really done much. And it's been a touchy subject for them. We'll see what happens. But what is your thought? Pace of play, Evan. You're a baseball guy. I'm a baseball guy. We're not turning off the TV. For these 4-hour games, we're not shutting it off. We watch it, and I think we honestly enjoy it. Watching these long games. Because you're like, wow, this is a train wreck. It's like a bad Thursday night football game. You're watching it like, wow, it's actually sadly enjoyable because it's so bad.
I mean, yeah, like you said, like we're not, we're big baseball guys. We're not shut off a 4-hour game. The average fan, they're not going to turn it on.
Yeah, no,
they're not going to turn it on because a few reasons. One, too much time between pitches, and then it's just the game's way too slow. There's not enough action. That's one of the main problems that they have right now in Major League Baseball, and Rob Manfred has acknowledged that.
Yes.
So obviously, what you got to look at is what would be the obvious thing you got to do, and the obvious thing would be putting in pitch clock.
What was the time at McCoy Stadium last night?
2:31, I think. A Major League Baseball game at that time.
The night before, which was a longer game. What were we talking? 2:54, something like that. Previous to McCoy.
There's one game this week that I think it was a 3:01. I can't remember if it.
But that's long. That's a long game for AAA baseball.
That might have been Monday.
So why don't you install this pitch clock? Bring that up to Major League Baseball. Do that. But I look at it this way: fans don't want to sit down for a 3-hour baseball game. Even a 3-hour game, they want for it. 2.5 hours, then you're talking. Then you're talking. That's NFL game time. There's a lot of that. You have to get rid of all that dead time. I think the pitch clock is a solution. But I think if you're going to take away from the game, in terms of innings, I think Justin's idea is actually a right route if you're going to do it that way, because you install this pitch count. Pitchers can go all the way out. They can open their arm up.
Yeah, and if you're opening their arm up, they're going to be pitching faster, and if they're pitching faster, it tends to go towards more wins at the end of the season. So yeah, it's not a bad idea to put in a pitch count and then make the game say an 8-inning game. And
it's also for their arms because you're installing a pitch count. It's player safety, arm safety. Maybe there's less injuries, all that kind of stuff. Longevity, you're extending the players' careers. There's less mileage on these arms. So you can sell this to the MLBPA. You can sell. We're not going to eliminate the rosters. We're going to put pitch counts. This is all incentives to keep the players healthier as well.
Yeah, but to begin with, you still got to start. You still need to go with the pitch clock. If you have a game like, say, Chris Sale's pitching, he's going to be in the mound tonight for the Red Sox. That game's not going to come close to 3 hours.
No.
He pitches. He gets the ball and he throws it.
Right.
That's what you need.
And then you look at other pitchers who just labor, and they labor,
how about
and they
David
labor.
Price? It's, and then it's like 50 seconds before it throws a pitch. Over the course of 100 pitches, say it takes Chris Sale 15 seconds per pitch, and it takes David Price 30 seconds per pitch.
Let's pump the brakes a little bit here. So Chris Sale is a phenom. He's an ace. He's a Cy Young. He's a once-in-a-generation type pitcher. He's like a Pedro Martinez. He doesn't wave the catcher off.
He doesn't.
So when you say, he's 15, say it's 15 seconds, right? It's like, well, he doesn't wave anybody off.
But
most pitchers can't do that. Most pitchers aren't as skilled as Chris Sale. So I think it's unfair to look at Chris Sale and his pace of play and then say to everybody else, why can't you do that? We saw Eduardo Rodriguez try to mimic it, and he actually had a lot of success. But you still have to, it's not going to be like Chris Sale. You still have to take a little bit of time to select the pitch.
But again, if you're going, all right, so put a pitch clock in at 20 seconds.
You should. Yeah.
You should. Say a pitcher goes has 30 seconds between pitches, because there are pitchers out there like that, like David Price. He's over the course of 100 pitches, you're going to extend the game, like 10 minutes, 10 seconds at a time?
Right. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I think if you do install a pitch clock, one thing I've noticed at the minor league level is the umpires wave it off a lot for no reason. They do a lot of that stuff. They wave it off the clock, they end the clock, and it runs a little bit longer. It hasn't really impacted too much of the game, but I think you have to restrict the way the umpires do that as well. I think they can't wave it off for a reason. There has to be some kind of reason for it. Because I have noticed that a lot at AAA Pawtucket, is they will wave it off for legitimately no reason whatsoever. Otherwise, they just want to manage it. Some of them are uncomfortable with it. So I think if you do install it, the umpires are going to have to be, inside on that conversation and be taught and trained properly on the policies and how to use it, how to manage it and feel comfortable.
Oh, absolutely. There are some umpires at the AAA level that
I don't think they did a good job explaining it to them.
That really don't care about the pitch clock. There's some that are really a big stickler about it. But, yeah, you're going to have the umpires enforce a lot of these different rules. Like one of the rules, Joe Morgan, a couple of weeks ago, he was at McCoy State, wrote a piece on his ideas about pace of play.
Right.
And one of the things that he brought up was that in Major League Baseball, before the 2015 season, they had to put in a rule where you have to have 1 foot in the batter's box at all times.
Right.
That lasted long.
Mm-hmm.
You got to enforce these rules.
Right. That was a rule they just kind of waved off where they were like, yeah, really care.
Yeah, you don't hear anything about it. And players are supposed to get fined by that every day.
I think with umpires, they're baseball guys, right? They're old fashioned, by the old school. That's the issue. And when you bring in new umpires, maybe they'll be more open to that kind of suggestion. But we'll see what happens with that. I think Major League Baseball, we talked about it. Their numbers are going, like this. They're trending downwards. In general, sports has been doing that though across the board. So, Major League Baseball more so. And pace of play definitely has been a big issue for them. So let's see if they actually man up and do something. I think ultimately there might be a lockout because of it. I think the next CBA is when you can actually institute policies like this. Talking about all these pitch clocks. You got to get everybody on board, and we'll see what happens. I think there could be a lockout. There's gonna be a lockout in hockey. I'm gonna talk about that on my 7th floor show with. We have a couple guys doing it, and we'll announce that and launch it around training camp for Boston Bruins. But we'll talk about that, how I think hockey is going down as well in terms of the way the contracts are based off of with David Pastrnak, all that. But, we'll see what happens with that as well, because you don't really know. They could change this pace of play. They could fix it, shorten the games, and no one might come back. So even if you fix it, it doesn't mean anything. So I think that's the issue with baseball. There's no proven way. So if they change it, you're not guaranteed anything with that. So we'll talk about New England Patriots to finish it up. I know we're running a little long here. Wow, 40 minutes. Woof.
Yeah.
Woof.
Wow, we went far.
Talking about Patriots roster battles, we'll talk about the running back group and the tight end group. They're playing the Detroit Lions Game 3 of the preseason on Friday night. Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? Who cares about preseason football? Nobody does. And I think they'll end up changing that or reducing it by game. So you have Game 3 around the NBA, NFL. Jacksonville is benching Blake Bortles in favor of Chad Henne. And then in Cleveland, Brock Osweiler has been knocked out of the starting role for Game 3 of the preseason. There's some interesting stuff. But with this Patriots team, talk about this running back group. We saw DJ Foster last week scored his second touchdown of the preseason. You have guys like Mike Gilly, who's injured and might miss the first couple weeks of the season. 4, 5, 6 weeks, depending. You have Deion Lewis, James White, Rex Burkhead. You have other guys, Gronkowski, James Devlin, Daniels also. But if you look at this team, they are going to carry a ton of running backs. So if you look at the tight end group, Rob Gronkowski, Dwayne Allen, those guys are locks on the roster. That's 1 and 2. Are you going to carry a third tight end? And there will be those who warrant it. James O'Shaughnessy, not related to Dan Shaughnessy, not the Boston Club, 2 different people. But James O'Shaughnessy came over from Kansas City. He hasn't really popped in training camp, hasn't really popped in preseason. But he's going to warrant the roster spot, or at least be in contention for it, because there's an opportunity there with him. And then Jacob Hollister, one of the Hollister brothers. I think on the TV they actually confused him with Cody Hollister. I think it was Dan Roach was like, "Oh, that's Cody Hollister." It's like, that's Jacob Hollister. Cody is the wide out, and Jacob's the tight end. Jacob Hollister had a really big Game 1, Game 2 last week. Didn't really pop. But he's going to be in that conversation as well. We talk about receiving core as well. Austin Carr had a really good Week 1. Devin Lucian's had a really good training camp. A lot of communication with Brady on that. So if you look at this Patriots receiving core, between the tight ends and wideouts, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Because I think they're going to carry running backs. Because you're not going to cut. Rex Burkhead's on your team. Mike Gillisley is going to be on your team. Deion Lewis is going to be on your team. James White is going to be on your team. Brandon Bolden is going to be on the team. He's going to be on special teams. So there's a couple running backs right there. They might carry 6 or 7 backs. Because are you going to cut DJ Foster? I think, does he make the end roster? I don't know. He might be on the squad, but he's putting in the work right now, and he's showing that he has something.
And if you release DJ Foster, I feel like he's going to end up being the type of guy. Like I know it's a different position, but like oh wow, I just lost his name.
All right, let's talk. I know what you're about to. So go back to last year. One of your training camp tight ends, AJ Derby, had a really good training camp, really good preseason. He showed something. Come regular season time, Martellus Bennett, Rob Gronkowski, 1-2. Same situation. AJ Derby goes to Denver. AJ Derby has success in Denver with a no-name quarterback, Trevor Siemian. And then the Patriots lose Rob Gronkowski for the rest of the year. Martellus Bennett's year 1. You were struggling to find that 2 last year. You were struggling to find another tight end. So if you're going to tell me we're only going to go in with 2 tight ends, why? Why would you risk it, knowing the injury history of Rob Gronkowski? You have no idea if Dwayne Allen's going to click with Brady, because we've seen it before. Scott Chandler came in, could not get the offense, could not get it. So why would you go down the 2? I would keep either Shaughnessy or Hollister. It's going to be one of the 2. I like Hollister. I think he has more upside than Shaughnessy.
I think so too.
But get rid of one of your running backs. Do something with that. I get the idea. Deion Lewis, you can't get rid of him. I don't know. James White, Rex Burkhead, Mike Gillisley, Brandon Bolden, Foster. There's too many running backs. They're all like the same thing. They're all like the same player. Rex Burkhead's a little bit shorter, but they are all guys who can catch out of the backfield. Gillisley can run the ball a little better, but he's injured right now, so who really knows? Why do you have Deion Lewis and James White? They do the same thing. They're the same kind of player. But you're going to have 2 tight ends? Rob Gronkowski's working with Guerrero. Alex Guerrero, Brady's guy. So he's supposed to be more healthy. We're just going to bet on that? I'm sorry. I don't want to see the guy bagging groceries going out to catch balls in Week 8 when Gronkowski's down. I'm good. Have a legit tight end, man.
Yeah, they do need to make sure that I think they do need to carry 3 tight ends for that exact reason. Over the last couple of years, you have
anybody can be a running back.
Yeah, Rob
Anybody
Gronkowski has shown he's been able to stay healthy the entire season once.
Put Glenn Gronkowski at running back if you really need someone to run the ball. You can find a running back on the street. Tight ends?
the body.
You need someone who can catch a ball. You need someone who can block and catch, and you can't teach that. You cannot teach that.
No, you can't.
But running back, anybody can be a running back in the NFL. We've seen they plugged in Ben Jarvis, Greenell, Stephen Ridley, Jonas Gray, and he was out of the league.
Yeah,
you can plug in anybody at that running back group. It doesn't matter who the running back is. You can find a running back. Obviously you have the exception, like Steven Jackson just did not click here. Did not click. But that's not an issue to me. You can find a running back. You don't need to carry all these running backs. I get Brandon Bolden. He's a special teams guy. Okay, keep him, right? But DJ Foster, I don't think he's going to make the team anyway, but I just rather carry 3 tight ends. Protect yourself, because I don't trust Gronkowski's health.
I don't either. And even if
that doesn't go away. That back injury does not go away.
It doesn't. And even if you sit him a couple weeks down the stretch, you still need to have that extra tight end.
Yes.
So
why?
There's no
if
reason,
the game's out of reach,
no
if you're up 30 points, Gronkowski should be sitting. Then you throw out O'Shaughnessy, Hollister, whatever. Unless one of the other Gronkowskis can go out and line up at tight end, keep 3 tight ends, man.
Yeah. Again, like you said, there's no reason to have 5 running backs, minimum.
They're going to carry 5 or 6 running backs on their roster.
It's going to be 5 minimum.
And I know Brandon Bolden's he's considered a back, but he's really a special teams. But he's a back. He is. He's a running back.
Yeah.
It's just a mess. It's like Matthew Slater considered a wide receiver. Slater's not a wide receiver.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I mean, granted, you'll have Matthew Slater line up as a wide receiver once this season. You'll have Brandon Bolden take 2 snaps.
I want the 3rd tight end, man. I haven't seen enough Dwayne Allen. I know what Gronk's going to be, but we cannot bet on Rob Gronkowski's health. We can't do it. We cannot do that. Unless Guerrero is literally giving them some kind of special juice. Don't bet on Gronkowski's health. That's just my thoughts on that. But speaking about football.
Yeah. Here we're at Burns Stadium, and the Bryant Bulldog football team opens its 2017 campaign next Saturday, September 2nd, right here at Burns Stadium. Experience the new era and purchase your tickets today by visiting BryantBulldogs.com/tickets or by calling 401-319-TIXX.
And we will throw the links to those in the description below. You're either watching this on Facebook Live, which we do 1 to 2 Facebook Lives a week. This is Trifecta Sports Talk. I'm Tanner Bell. This is Evan Cook. We'll be back tomorrow on Facebook live from McCoy Stadium with our Red Sox show. We're going to give you all the latest in Kentucky Red Sox news. They close up their season. We're going to talk about their roster, talk about guys like Bryce Brents, Rusney Castillo, Brian Johnson, Jalen Beeks. We'll talk about it all. And we'll give you who we think might be in Boston this year for September call-ups or next year. Thank you for joining us. It was great being here at Bryant University here at Burns Stadium. I don't know if you can see it. You can see the skyline back of us, the hills here in Smithfield, Rhode Island. Gorgeous complex. Head on down. You can find those ticket information here below. I know Evan will be coming to that Week 1 game, I believe.
Yep, next Saturday here.
He'll be at the homecoming.
Yeah, homecoming. That's September 23rd against Fordham.
Okay. Links will be in the description below to purchase tickets to the Bulldogs this season. Thank you to Bryant University for having us here. It's been great. It's been very helpful. It's a gorgeous view from up here. A little windy, but feels nice outside here today.
That's the nice thing about Bryant. It's never, you always have air because it's on top of a hill, so you always have that wind.
Right, you're on like a plateau here almost.
It is.
It's pretty interesting.
It is, especially cool. Near the athletic complex. This is like the highest point on campus.
Right, and
it is nice up there.
If you have any suggestions of where we should do this show next, because once we move into the fall, less outdoor shows, more indoor shows. We do have like a potential set we're going to use for indoor shows, but we're open to suggestions. We'll go anywhere. We'll go to a restaurant. We'll go to a store. We'll go to another athletic complex, maybe someplace in Rhode Island, Boston. So we're open to that. So if you have any suggestions of where we should do our live show, let us know. We're willing to give shout outs, ad reads, whatever, Glad to be here. Thank you for listening, and make sure to like, subscribe, and check out our website, Trifecta.